Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And I just had a thought to throw this video together real quick. And it's just some random food storage items I've been putting up. Some of these I've been putting up for a while. Some of them are brands that have changed over the years, so I want to cover them again. And some of them are just new altogether. So let's get to the topic. And I want to start off, this is what spurred the idea, was that people keep asking me where I get my vanilla beans. And they'll ask on all the different videos that I've put out over the years. And through the years, the vanilla beans have changed, like from what brand or where I've ordered them from. Mostly from Amazon, but I have got some from eBay before. Yes, you can find them on eBay. And I know some people have talked about a Facebook group where you can get a good price on vanilla beans. And if you know anything about that, please put that in comments down below for those who are asking and want to know where is the best price, because it changes all the time to find the highest quality but also for a decent price. Now, the first vanilla beans I started stocking up on back in, I think it was 2014, I was getting the Frontier Co-op organic brand, and I was paying about $30 for a quarter pound. That's about 25 beans. Well, that particular one, I don't even know if you can get that one anymore, but I was glad I stocked up on it when I did, because the price shortly after that started jumping up in price. It went from $30 to $60 for the same amount, then to $120, and I think at one point I saw it at $180 for the same amount. But because I wanted to restock my vanilla beans back in 2020, I did some more shopping around. I found some on Amazon I was getting for a while. Then I found some others that had an even better price, because it's always changing, that I've been stocking up on more recently. And this is actually the last bag I'm going to get, because at least for now, because I have a lot of vanilla beans, like a lot. And I have my big jar of perpetual vanilla extract going, so I really don't need much more. I believe with what I have here, I have enough to last me quite a few years. So I'm going to show you what I do with these, and I store them in, I keep them stored in jars like this, and then I just take out a few as I need them, and then I reseal the jar. So I need to unseal this, because this is my recent jar that I've been packing full, and every time I put a new bag in there, I seal it up, and then I get it, when I get the new bag, I add those in, and this should fill it up nicely. So you can see how full that is. Oh man, these ones just smell really good. These are the Madagascar. These are grade A. So these are better than the last ones I was getting through Amazon, and they're nice and soft. And so I just pack them in there. You just want to make sure if you got a bunch in there, you get them down in there so that they're not going to push up against the lid. If you got to fold them down to do it. Then I put the lid on, and then I can either use my chamber with the brake bleeder pump, or I can use the Food Saver top, which I just recently, and again, this could change, but I couldn't believe it when I saw recently it was about $13 for the full set, both sizes plus a hose, on Amazon. And I'll link to these in the description box down below. So you get the regular and the wide mouth. And again, it might change by the time you see this video, but I was surprised. Typical price is about $25 for the set. So anyway, I just take my brake bleeder pump, and yes, there's ways you can do this so that you don't have to hold it in place, but this is just what I do. It's a habit. It's not hard for me. And then I just pump the brake bleeder pump up until I just pump it until it stops moving. And typically that's going to be when the needle hits about 400 or 20, and sometimes it can go farther than that though. Usually when I'm using my chamber, I definitely will go as far as I can until that needle stops moving. And if you're interested in the chamber and how it works, we do have the half-gallon one, which by the time you're seeing this video, we should have it available on the store again. But it's I have a video on how to use it that I'll link to down below. It's something that we designed and sell on our Etsy store. But if you have access to the Food Saver tops, these work great for any regular or wide mouth. You got to have the regular mouth one too. Canning jars, but the chamber is nice because you can use it on any other jar, like a green olive jars, pickle jars, anything that will fit in the chamber that has the original lid. And you'll see here that it's sealed, and now this one is done. Let's talk about some of the other random things. Now, A lot of you know I've been putting up a lot of dairy powders, so whole dairy powders as the most healthy ones I can find. And when someone told me about the Prescribed for Life organic whole milk powder, I was thrilled because I hadn't seen any organic. I've been getting the Hoosier Hill and the Judy's, which are, you know, free from the hormones and all that stuff, and they're whole milk. I always say go for whole milk, not that stripped out stuff. That stuff's gross anyway. But go for the whole milk. It preserves just fine, just as well, if not better. I've actually found all my whole milk powder has done better than any of the non-fat milk powder I was initially stocking up on. But anyway, so I was thrilled to find this organic, and the best price was to get the 4.4 pound bag. And I can get this through Subscribe and Save. In fact, most of the items I'm showing you, I can get through Subscribe and Save on Amazon, and which will save you 5 to 15%. Actually, what I do now is I use the dairy powders all the time. They get used all the time. I do keep fresh milk. We don't have dairy animals, so I have to buy milk anyway. So it's just as cost effective for me to buy the milk already dehydrated than to buy fresh milk and then dehydrate it. And so we do keep fresh milk. I freeze that and then we rotate through that. But to prolong that so we don't have to go to the store as often, I use the milk powder and then rotate through that as well. And so I'm really happy with that. I have a lot of milk powder in my storage. I'm still stocking up on it just because I'm using it so often now. And I'm really experienced with it because I use it for so many things. And one thing I like to always make sure people know about is stocking up on spices and herbs that you don't already grow, such as nutmeg, for instance. Because if you're into preparedness, and especially if you're new and you're like, okay, I got to get a bunch of rice, beans, and pasta put into my food storage, or what's going to happen if you don't have anything to season those and change the flavors. I mean, you might not think of nutmeg being used in rice and beans, but hey, if you're one that likes to eat cooked rice with milk in the morning for breakfast, you might want to put a little nutmeg and cinnamon and cloves on it, or just the cinnamon. So I just grabbed this because it was easy, but nutmeg, cinnamon, cloves, these are all things I stock up on. And in all of them, I stock up on both the whole form and the powdered form. So it just depends on how I'm going to be using it. And then think of some other things like spirulina powder. I'm starting to stock up on some of this. I'm not going to put a ton of it away, but spirulina is very high in protein. So if you're a vegan, this is an excellent way to get more protein into your diet, whether you take it as a capsule form or use it in smoothies or teas or whatever it is that you want to use it in. My purpose of this was more to make capsules out of it to add as a supplement to our diet. I've used spirulina in the past as well as chlorella, and I tend to lean towards the spirulina. They both have their advantages. They're similar but different. So in fact, if I can find a video I recently was listening to about the differences, I'll link to that below. I believe it's on Superfood Evolution, I think is the name of the channel. So you might be interested in that, especially if you're vegan and you're trying to understand what's going to be best for you. But a lot of great health benefits in those things, by the way. And then you've got, this is something I get all the time because I go through a lot of either arrowroot or tapioca starch. This is just what is currently on my Subscribe and Save, but tapioca starch is just as good. You can use either one. It's a great way to replace cornstarch in many things, and even potato starch if you're wanting something that's a little more healthy than those, especially since cornstarch you can't always guarantee it's going to be non-GMO. And it gets used in a lot of stuff. It gets used as a thickener. I use this in deodorant. I use this in tooth powder. I use this in a lot of stuff. And then I did talk about this in my video I did on the fats that I like to stock up on, which I'll link to down below. This is just random stuff. And this just recently came in. That's mostly what I'm talking about, stuff that recently came in my last Subscribe and Save. And that is the sesame oil. I love sesame oil for the flavor. So it's something I use quite a bit in any kind of Asian dishes that I make. And that one's used more for flavor rather than for cooking in. And then of course I've got my coconut oil, and I'm bringing this one up because for a long time I was getting the Nutiva brand through Subscribe and Save, but I can't remember if they either doubled the price or they removed it from Subscribe and Save altogether. And now the Carrington has the same one for a much less price. So now this is the one I'm getting. I usually get a gallon of this every month. For a while when I was doing the soaps for the store, I was getting 2 gallons every month because I was going through a lot just keeping up on the soaps on the store, and then the many ways that I use coconut oil. And I use both the refined, which is what this is, and then the unrefined. The unrefined is what I use in making lip balms, skin creams, or anything I'm going to cook or bake that I want that coconut flavor in or don't mind the coconut flavor in. And then I brought in the pasta. Normally I get the Costco because they have a good organic pasta from Italy that they have the best price. But the thing I don't like about it is you're only limited to certain shapes. And like they don't have the farfalle, I think, in the organic variety. But Montebello is actually my very favorite pasta because it just has the best flavor to me. This is also from Italy and it's also organic. But now that I can get these on either Vitacost or Misfits Market, both carry them. I just look and see which one has the best price. I've been stocking up on the different shapes that I can't get from Costco. So farfalle is one of them, and it's been nice I like to mix it up. Actually, farfalle is my favorite one to use for making lasagna rather than your standard lasagna noodles. I like the farfalle better because when you cook it up, it lays nice and flat, but it's a lot easier to eat. I know it's not traditional. I just prefer it actually, but it's all going to be a matter of choice. And then of course, cocoa butter. I'm always stocking up on cocoa butter and cocoa powder because I do make homemade chocolates. I have a whole bunch of recipes out there and a playlist on it. In fact, I have a new recipe idea in my head that I'm going to be doing a video on here soon. So I keep the cacao butter and cacao powder on hand. They're both raw and organic, and I use them for many things, but the cacao butter mostly is just used for making the homemade chocolates. So got to keep that on hand. Besides, when we're looking at a grid down situation and you're just trying to survive off the rice and beans you put up, you're going to really be grateful that you have other things in your food storage that are going to add flavor and variety. And by the way, in early 2020, I did do a video where I covered a lot of different things, like a whole bunch. I didn't go over a lot of grains or beans or rice, that kind of stuff in there, because the whole idea of that was it was supposed to be beyond rice and beans. So you might want to watch that video too. This is basically more of an update of just some different things that have changed even since then. And so I'll link to that video down below. It's pretty in-depth. I cover quite a bit. Anyway, some other things to think about is cream of tartar. Cream of tartar has many uses in baking, but when it comes to making your own baking powder, cream of tartar and baking soda, when they're separate, they have a longer shelf life. They can keep for pretty much indefinitely, but once you combine them into making the baking powder, the storage life isn't as long. So I still am stocking up on the cream of tartar along with the baking soda. I have tons of baking soda on hand because of its many purposes for cleaning, tooth powder, deodorant powder, and baking. And then a couple other things I wanted to just throw out there is, like I've mentioned in a few videos, that our friends that recently moved to this area that we quickly got to know and quickly became close friends with. Well, the family's gluten-free for the most part. Well, most of them are. And so I've been putting together some different gluten-free things, so when we eat meals together, I can have something I can make them that is gluten-free. So I think it was Misfits Market I got these. Sometimes I forget if it's Vitacost or Misfits Market. I haven't tried it yet, but it is organic brown rice pasta. So just consider that. Even though you can make your own gluten-free pasta, I do have a recipe of something I put together myself. But in that particular recipe, it does have one of the gum powders, like the xanthan gum, which I was really skeptical about, but I used it anyway. I'd like to try it again without that and try to replace it with something like psyllium husk powder. But anyway, if you're gluten-free, you can either look at making your own pastas, which is actually pretty simple, or just stocking up on some pastas. Pastas are really great because in the packages, it'll depend on your location, but at least for us, as long as I can keep them in the packages like this, as long as I keep them in a dry place, they will last for an eternity like this. And no issues, even in the plastic. I don't worry so much about storing stuff in plastic if it's something that's going to stay at a cool temperature or room temperature. It's when you freeze in plastic or heat in plastic that you really have to be concerned when it comes to that. So storing in plastic isn't quite so bad. It's not desirable, but if you're really worried about it, you can take your pastas and then vacuum seal them. You know, the vacuum sealing will help keep bugs out. I never have bugs in my pasta, never have. But if you do tend to get weevils or just bugs that get in your pasta, consider vacuum sealing your pastas into jars. I did show that in the, I think in that video I mentioned on the Beyond Rice and Beans. And back here I've got some brown rice flour and buckwheat flour, just a couple of examples of some of the gluten-free flours that I'm also stocking up on. So anyway, that's just an example. And like I said in previous videos, I do already have a playlist of gluten-free recipes that I had worked on years ago, and then kind of got out of it because we're not gluten-free and don't need to be. But now that we have these friends that we spend quite a bit of time with that are, I am really trying to work on that, and I'm going to start creating some more recipes. But I'll link to my gluten-free playlist of what I have so far in the description box down below, so you can check that out if you want to learn some more about that. And then be watching for more to come out. Again, it's going to be, I have to work with this stuff, a little trial and error, and then I like creating my own recipes. I might use other people's recipes as a guideline, but I still like creating my own. Just kind of base some things, get some basic ideas of what I need and some different ratios, and then just start creating my own blends and recipes from that. So anyway, just a taste of what's going on around here, no pun intended, as far as some of the stuff I've changed in the brands and maybe some new stuff I've added. And along with that, even though this isn't a food related item, consider, if you're not doing it yet, consider stocking up on things like your vitamin C, your vitamin D. We stock up on some of these basic things like that for when we feel like we really need them. Vitamin C and vitamin D especially. Magnesium. We have a lot of magnesium powder and calcium powder stocked up. And so these are things you should probably consider, and it's obviously you're going to tailor it to your need. We also have selenium as well, but I also stock up on Brazil nuts for the selenium from there. But Patrick doesn't like Brazil nuts. I do. I love them. So I give him the selenium to make sure we're keeping our thyroids healthy. And for those of you who are new and are interested, we have a video we did over 3 years ago. It's probably going on 4 years now, on how we took ourselves off the thyroid medication. And we've been off for about 9.5 years or more ever since, and we're doing great. And if you got any new additions to your food storage, go ahead and share those down below. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.